News Talk Breakfast.
In association with AIR. Seamless connections with Ireland's #1 broadband provider.
Now, an investigation is underway at Cork University Maternity Hospital after it emerged the organs of 18 babies were incinerated abroad without parental consent. Leona Birmingham was one of the mothers featured in last night's primetime episode about the horrifying incident. She sadly lost her son Lee a few hours after his birth and bravely joins me on the line to tell her family's story. Leona, for those of us who may have missed last night's primetime programme, can you explain to us exactly what happened to your baby Lee?
I suppose we got a phone call in May 2020 to tell us that our son's organs have been incinerated, which was absolutely devastating for us. But it actually wasn't until November that we got the full impact of it, that we found out that it was his brain and that it was incinerated in Antwerp in Belgium.
Can you tell me how Lee passed? I understand you had twins that were delivered early. What was your expectation of what would happen once you realised that Lee wasn't going to survive?
So we found out, I suppose, early on in the pregnancy that there was complications. And I suppose this is where I first inquired about organ donation, because we were not sure if Lee how long he would survive, or so I did inquire about organ donation, but because they have to be a certain weight when they're born, and we didn't know Lee's exact cause of death, so we couldn't donate his organs. So when Lee was born, they were born at 20 to 10 and Lee passed at 1:05 going into the following morning. So Lee had, I suppose that's one of the reasons why we wanted to carry out a post-mortem, just to get the exact cause of death. That was one of our main reasons for it to go ahead. And then the doctor told us that we could donate his organs for medical research, and we thought that it was a good choice, that if we could help another family that had complications through their pregnancy, and if we could have got any more information that they could have got, we thought would be a great idea. Yeah, so that's one of the main reasons we did choose to carry out a post-mortem.
A very generous way to look at such a horrific time. And Leona, can I ask you, what were your expectations as to what would happen to Lee's organs?
So I suppose we expected that we would get them back, or that they would be in a burial grounds. We were hoping that the call was to come out and pick up the organs, but unfortunately it wasn't. It was to tell us that they have been incinerated.
Was there any explanation as to why the remains weren't buried as was promised to you?
So the explanation we have received is COVID-19, but we just find it very hard to accept that reason. We did do an FOI, Freedom of Information Act, and we did get some documents released to us. And in them documents, it states that Lee's brain, they were done with their examination in early December. So Lee's brain, they had no use for it to be still in the morgue in March when COVID hit. We saw documents saying that they knew the burial ground was full. We saw that they went and, I suppose, explored other avenues and other burial grounds, and then they just came to the decision of incinerating the organs. So I just don't feel like COVID-19 is, I suppose, the right excuse to use when the pandemic didn't hit Ireland anyway till March. But they were done with my son's brain in December.
Now tell me, Leona, if it was the case that they'd communicated to you that the burial grounds were full and that they needed to, as they've suggested, clear the mortuary, would you have wanted the remains returned to you so that you could have made private arrangements?
100%. We would have loved to have something belonging to Lee that we could have for ourselves, I suppose, that we could have chosen to bury him with him, that we could have chosen to have some ashes at home. We would have loved that, but sadly that didn't happen for us.
Our condolences, Leona, to you and your family from everybody here at News Talk. Now, Cork University Hospital issued an apology saying the South-West Hospital Group, CUH and CUMH, have apologised to 18 families whose perinatal organs that had been retained by the hospital were sent for incineration instead of being buried or cremated, as had been agreed to by all of the parents prior to a post-mortem. The group deeply regret that this distressing incident occurred and acknowledge that a serious error was made and are truly sorry for the additional distress this has caused to grieving families. Now, if you're struggling with the loss of a child or this issue, you can speak to Anam Cara on 085 288 8888 or Aware at 1800 80 48 48.